Hello and welcome to the Business of Betting podcast. Today I'm joined by David and Mark from Wagerr. Guys, thank you very much for coming on.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by Betfair Australia. No matter where you are in the world, if you're looking to find your edge in sports betting or racing, you'll need to visit the Betfair Hub. From analysis to betting psychology, it has everything that you need. Simply visit betfair.com.au/hub.
Today I'm joined by David and Mark from Wagerr. Guys, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having us in your show.
No, you're welcome. It's very nice to talk to you. David, why don't you start? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how it led you to Wagerr?
Oh, right. I've always been fascinated about computing since I was probably very, very young. But I ended up graduating as a doctor, actually, sort of a decade ago. But always kept my fascination about computers and stumbled on Bitcoin in sort of late 2013. And so at that time, it was the era of scam coins, you know. Coins were popping up every single day. You had ninja launches, but still like exchange were listing them and delisting them. So I was thinking, like, what's the point of all this? So I felt that we could create something that would actually disrupt a sector, you know, in the real world, and gambling and sports betting seemed to be the perfect sort of choice, because it's always a third party involved, you know, so, and trust and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's how I got involved.
I'll jump to Mark in a sec. Just a quick follow-up. Late 2013 Bitcoin is obviously a long time ago now, and then I believe Mt. Gox happened early 2014. So even in that period of time, in 2013, 2014, did you have optimism remaining around Bitcoin and maybe how this industry might evolve?
I actually read an article back at that time saying that Bitcoin is projected to climb to $100,000. so that was that back then. So that just kept me engaged, and I sort of realized how valuable this technology was, and sort of missing out on buying shares in Google and Apple, because I was probably too young to buy shares at that time. I thought, hey, this is an opportunity that should not miss.
Mark, what about you? What's your background and how did it lead you to this space?
Yeah, so I actually probably had a little bit of a different background. My background's in financial planning software, actually. So I kind of worked in the wealth management space for most of my career. And it was around 2016 I started stumbling across the Bitcoin world. And so it was all brand new to me, and started looking at all the different coins that were going on and what were they actually doing. And I think it was about it was mid 2017 that Wagerr ICO'd, and I had a read of their white paper, and actually the business model for me just made total sense, whereas for maybe a lot of the other coins I couldn't quite see the business model. So pretty much since then I have followed Wagerr along, just around how they're going and looking at that business model, and as the betting volume's kind of increasing, and over the last, I guess, 2 years have been more involved with the project, having, I guess, understood it more and more. So to the point now where I'm helping them, I guess, on a bit more of a regular basis. So yeah, my background wasn't really in the computer space, but more looking at it from an investment perspective, I guess.
Mark, how do you describe it to your friends, to your family, to others that come across it and ask you to explain it to them who may not be experts in this field?
Yeah, so the way I explain it is just like it's very similar to any other sports book, right? But you just bet with, instead of betting with your USD or AUD coin or whatever fiat currency that you have, you bet with the wager currency. So that comes with benefits, and maybe to some people it comes with things that they don't like about it, like volatility. But there is a lot of benefits, and we think that the benefits outweigh the negatives. And I mean, we'll probably get into that in more detail. But how I describe it is, it's just a sports book that you can access anywhere across the world.
Yeah, we'll get stuck into some of the commercial and business side a bit later on. David, tell me, as you went through 2013, 2014, all the way to now, tell us about the challenges for building this project out and what it took on your end.
I think the main challenges was the technology itself. I guess Bitcoin had to evolve as well, so that allowed us to have lots of strategies and new technological methods to achieve what we wanted to do. So we started to plan Wagerr back in 2016. There were lots of different models being drawn out, and even after the fundraise, we still had to make adjustments to the roadmap itself, because trying to get ideas into code, and just from the user perspective, we had to change how we wanted to do things. So initially we wanted to plan head-to-head first, and then launch betting against the blockchain. But then we had to swap that all over because of liquidity concerns. That you can actually see lots of projects that do head-to-head actually face.
Are you able to take something like this on yourself? What was involved? Do you have a team of developers and architects and these people behind the scenes working on it, or what was the input from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, was just basically overseeing the plan and trying to talk to the developers on this is what I want. Is this possible? Can it be actually be done? Or if not, what are the other alternatives, and basically how to achieve our goals. And it's step by step, because there's many milestones along the way. So it's still an ongoing process. With regards to the development, we're adding more and more features. So in regards to the team, we've got actually quite a reasonably sized team of people that work on social media, and then just trying to talk to bettors. And we've got a odds expert. His name is Luigi. So we just sort of cover multiple aspects of betting, cryptocurrency, and sort of social media as well.
Was there one major challenge that you saw as being the biggest throughout this process, or maybe has there been one that has been the biggest challenge for you, going from early stages all the way to getting a product ready to launch?
I guess the main challenge is just I would say the complexity and the time required to build and achieve a milestone, because it's not like a centralized site where you could potentially just build it overnight. Just buy a white label and edit it. It's something that's never been done before. I mean, there's lots of other cryptocurrency projects out there, but no one has sort of taken the approach as Wagerr. So it's really cutting edge technology. So we don't really have a sort of a reference model to follow. So I guess that's the real challenge. Is some of it is a bit of a trial and error. If it doesn't work, you have to go back to the drawing board and sort of readjust things. I guess the other challenges would be to sort of how to attract more bettors on our network, so to improve liquidity on the markets. Yeah.
Mark, I might switch to you. Tell us a little bit about the business model behind Wagerr, and we've discussed it a little bit previously. Take us through some of the elements that stand out to you from that perspective, and just why it's so unique and interesting to you.
The way to, I guess, look at Wagerr in terms of the business model. So every bookie has a similar process, right? It's to balance the books behind the scenes of they want to ensure that they have bets on both sides of the markets, and basically they take a clip in the middle, which is usually a spread. So Wagerr does the same thing. So they offer odds on both sides. People can bet into those odds, and it's just a process of managing the books on either side. And we've still got that spread, but because we use a cryptocurrency called Wagerr, what it means is that the book itself is not limited to the amount of bets that can take place, i.e. when you put a bet on Wagerr, there's no limits. You can bet as much as you want. You've just got to use the Wagerr coin. So what that means is that the book can accept an unlimited amount of bets, but also what happens in those bets, we take a little fee, or the fee itself is built into the odds, and then Wagerr coin is burned. And so what happens over time is that there's more Wagerr coins burned than minted, if that makes sense. And so over time, if you're a losing bettor, you'll just lose your money, right? But if you're a winning bettor, what you're accumulating is a more scarce asset. And so as that scarce asset and the demand for betting continues, then it should put upward price pressure on the Wagerr coin. So in effect, what we're doing is giving punters the house edge, because we're putting price pressure on the Wagerr coin. So as they accumulate those Wagerr coins, they're benefiting not only from winning their bets, but also an increased price from those Wagerr coins. Hopefully that makes sense. It is quite difficult to explain without going through it quite slowly.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Let's go back to the start. No limits. When you say the book can accept all limits, all bets, does that mean there needs to be someone on the other side, either the other user, for example?
So as you know, there's basically two types of betting. One is a betting exchange where the counterparty you have to find the counterparty, which usually means that there's low liquidity. So like just a betting exchange. Wagerr is an example of one of those. But in Wagerr's case, the blockchain acts as the bookie, and they will accept an unlimited amount of bets because they can always pay it out because they're minting new currencies, new Wagerr coins.
Okay, and run us through, if you start winning, or if you lose, the coin is burnt, and then it starts minting more when you win. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So basically, if you're a loser on Wagerr, so you place a bet and then you lose that bet, that Wagerr is gone forever. So it removes itself for the system. If you win, the blockchain will mint you new coins. So we're ongoingly going to have coins that are burned and coins that are minted. But over the long term, because of that house edge, we're going to burn more than what we mint.
So in a weird scenario, if everyone started winning, which obviously doesn't happen, as we know, then that would cause problems. So you're relying on the inherent betting world where more people lose than win overall, and because of that, the leftover, I guess, Wagerr that's minted will be worth more overall. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, exactly. So if everyone wins, then there's just going to be a massive supply of Wagerr coins, and then the business model doesn't really work. But if we get the odds right, then that won't happen. We'll have, over the long time, as I said, more burned than minted. So the other part about this is if you're a bettor that's, break even, or you're positive EV better, Wagerr will not cut you off. So you can benefit from the fact that you can just continually bet into this system without anyone cutting off your account, which I think for a lot of people is going to be a big benefit.
When you go into detail on this with others, some people, for example, in the financial world or other people in the crypto world, what is their feedback or response or typical answers to, you can be a winning sports bettor, you can gamble limitless, and you can continue to do so because of this business model? Do they have any strong reactions for you?
Yeah, I think most people don't go into the details of it, so they question it. Like, I think that's quite natural for someone to go, well, what happens if people just keep winning, right? But I think the people that we've talked to, and definitely in the community that, really get the industry, they understand that it's just the odds. So the odds will adjust to whatever makes sense. So if one side is getting heavily hammered on, the Lakers or whatever it might be, those odds will adjust down, and there'll be a spread in the middle. So at the end of the day, as long as the odds get adjusted, then it'll work itself out. You just got to go into those details to understand how the business model works.
David, tell me, you mentioned before about attracting more players to the platform. Tell us a little bit about your approach to that. Is there an easy way to bring sports bettors to your platform that you've found, given it is a rather complex environment generally, and some people don't necessarily fully understand what it means straight away when we talk about cryptocurrencies and coins and sports betting together?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in a nutshell, our first priority would be adding more and more attractive features onto the network itself. For example, we are adding parlays, or what you call multi-bets onto the system right as we speak. So that's another attractive way, attractive sort of feature that bettors want, and so as we do more and more of that, we will also add a betting exchange. So that's coming later on in this year. But more importantly is doing lots of work on improving the user experience, because we have to turn something complex and into something simple that users can see very clearly, what's happening. So that takes a lot of work as well. So I guess once we do that, then my initial approach with sort of letting people know. So I'm engaging with cryptocurrency groups as well. So they are probably the earlier adopters, I would say, or speculators, to sort of get in and buy the coin. But also, which that's why we're doing this podcast, just to get bettors to who are always looking for something new, just to come on Wagerr and try it out, So it will still take some time for average users or average bettors to come in, because at the end of the day, people who buy Wagerr will eventually also want to sell, and convert it to cash, so they can buy whatever they want. So it has to sort of slowly evolve to that stage. So the important thing is what we call liquidity on the exchanges where Wagerr is listed. So we want to reach some sort of a equilibrium initially, with the people buying and selling Wagerr, and hopefully eventually we'll have more people buying than selling. So this will have to take some time to occur.
Yeah, when you think about building it, and I've played around with the app myself, it's very easy to use, and it looks pretty good at the moment, to be honest. But are you trying to make it look like other sports books people are used to, make it easy to use, or are you looking to make it more sophisticated and have options like an exchange included, or what's the general thought process? And I guess that links back to user acquisition as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make the user interface, as close to sort of general sports books, So it's something that they're very familiar with, and easy to use. So that's the aim, So yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
I might just add in there, though, Jake. One of the cool things about the project is that it's open source code. So whatever user interface that Wagerr creates, someone else can create their own skin over the top of Wagerr. Because it's open source, anyone can create a skin over the top of it that makes it more attractive to, I guess, a niche market or to them personally. So I think there's so much opportunity in which way it goes in terms of how it looks and what the user experience is there because of its open source, which is, I guess, as far as I know, not the case in the traditional betting world.
So tell us what an example might be, Mark, when you talk about someone can build their own skin on top. Would that be if someone, just to pick a random example, someone wanted to have a similar platform for betting only on the X Games, they could create an X Games version of what you're built and have that being the strong focus and target those people that are interested in skateboarding and BMX?
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe like the simplest way to explain it is, so we kind of at the moment have an app that has red on the color scheme. If someone wanted blue for whatever reason, they could just recode that part and say, actually, I want all those buttons to be blue. So they can change it to whatever they want. Mm-hmm. As long as they connect to the Wagerr protocol to make the bet, they can make it look and feel how they want.
Yeah, just want to add onto it, because it's how the wallet works is basically communicating to a node on the blockchain itself. A node is basically one of many thousands of computers or servers that is interconnected to form the Wagerr network, and basically they can filter out events that they don't want to have on their platform, and they can just have skateboarding or XFL, just the stuff that you want. They could even start a business from this. They could add in fees, extra fees for their users, or sort of customize it how they want.
David, does this type of project get more difficult as you go and more complex, or does it get easier as you build out more? I'm not sure I know the answer, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the most important reason of I would say blockchain technology is basically decentralization. So take away the trust on a single party for your project to work. So eventually we want various odds providers. We want the users to submit odds to the network as a collective, and the network itself will be able to sort of find a medium ground of using what we call a consensus system. So it's essentially over time decreasing the involvement of the Wagerr team and sort of increasing the the autonomous nature of the chain.
Yeah, I think one way might be to word it is trying to make the betting protocol public infrastructure so that anyone can access it without the need to rely on any one person to maintain that infrastructure.
Mark, from your perspective, what are the major challenges going to be for adoption? Is it going to be the deposit and withdrawal or the transfer of money process? Is it going to be Does someone need to understand the business model behind it to benefit from it? Is it going to be, the user interface? What are the major challenges that you see?
Yeah, I think it happens in phases. So I think initially it's education. Like, no one will adopt the Wagerr protocol unless they have some understanding of it, or they just don't have access to betting at all, which for a lot of people that might be their use for it. But I think education is a big part of it. So we've definitely got to work on helping to make the messaging easier for people to understand how it works. And then the second part is making it okay once they decide to use it, making that onboarding process easier. So being able to go from whatever currency they might hold, whether that's a cryptocurrency or just the US dollar or whatever it might be, into the Wagerr currency to make a bet, and then actually on the way back out too. So once they win, being able to cash back out as well into their preferred currency. So I think they're the kind of the two big things is education and then just onboarding and offboarding.
David, what are you most excited about with this project at the moment? And maybe you've gone in different waves and ebbs and flows as you've gone through different phases, but right now, what's the most exciting thing for you?
To me, the excitement has always been development, making something new, So every day is an exciting day because there's always something new that we are developing. There's always some new ideas being thrown around, and sort of trying to make things real. So every day, you wake up and you think about new things, and I think the excitement it's going to be hard to say the excitement will ever end, because something like this, it's I would say it's a lifetime project, because there's always something new to do. It's not like oh, we are done, it's finished and we walk away. So yeah, and I think the dream and realizing it, it's been the major thing. Yeah.
What about you, Mark? Is there anything stands out from your perspective when it comes to this project that's most exciting?
Yeah, I mean, short term, I'm really looking forward to parlays. I think that'll be a lot of fun on the network. But secondly, what we're starting to see, there's a couple of people within the Wagerr community that are building what we're calling chain games. So a chain game, for example, is Lotto, on the back of the Wagerr network. So what it means is that people can leverage the Wagerr blockchain and then create their own kind of businesses or games or whatever it is on the side of it. So all of that type of stuff just adds more utility to the network. So sports betting is the main focus, but just the way that the Wagerr blockchain is designed, it opens itself up to things like Lotto or Keno type games. So that's going to be exciting over the next couple of years, just watching people build out those things and trying to attract more and more users, which brings more liquidity, and I guess it helps the model work.
So all of this really works because it's just based on a very simple concept. We have developed a really decentralized on-chain random number generator. So it's provably fair, and it uses the random nature of blockchain hashes that come out in each block, and just with that we can build out chance games essentially.
So Satoshi Dice comes to mind. Have you been keeping one half of one eye on some of the possibilities from other perspectives, or have you been solely focused on getting up and running with sports?
The chain games nature of it is just one feature that once we build it up, then other developers can create games. So it's something that we do not have to build ourselves, because we have lots of interested parties who want to build different games like roulette, dice games, and they can put in the code that so they will get a little cut of fees taken from any winning. So it just incentivizes external developers to get involved and build sort of chain games on top of the network.
And maybe it's just a good point to circle back then, is that why that stuff is so important, because how that works is that, like, all of those games will have an inbuilt house edge, which burns more of those Wagerr coins. So all of that functionality and utility that those games bring help drive the price of Wagerr back up. And that's also why it's exciting, particularly if you're a winning bettor, is that you not only benefit from a betting site that allows you to not be cut off and actually win if you have an edge, but also benefit from the adoption and therefore the increase of a Wagerr price over time if that betting demand continues.
So success could mean limitless betting, and as you bet and win, hopefully, the value of the coin goes up. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so you're kind of providing value to possibly investor, but also to users at the same time, which I think is very unique for a business model in this space.
So last question for both of you. How can people try it? How should they try it? Is there any specific elements that you think that they should take a deeper look at when they're first trying out Wagerr?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the first place to go is the website, wagerr.com. I think if you want to do the deep dive, there's a white paper on there, and that will just lay out the business model and the plans of Wagerr quite clearly. You can download, we've got an Android, iOS app as well as a desktop app, so you can download one of those. And then probably the other thing that you might want to do is we've got a Telegram community there. So any questions that you have along the way, the community is always in there and helping, asking questions and helping explain things to new people getting started. So that's probably the best way for people to kind of get up to speed quickly.
David, what do you suggest when people try it out? Same sort of thing?
Yeah, I guess it's the same way that Mark just described, but I would like them to also read the news page where we post lots of updates. It's news.wagerr.com, but also connect to our Telegram communities. The link is at the bottom of the website. There we chat about all sorts of things, even lots of about sporting events as well. So I think initially we don't want people to just use the app and not discuss and chat. We are always open to suggestions, and in that channel we can offer help and assistance for people having trouble, because it's in this sort of in current stage. I wouldn't say Wagerr is completely perfect. There's going to be some technical issues that we are just trying to improve, but none of them is sort of non-solvable. Yeah, just needs a bit of help.
Amazing. I'm very excited to follow along. Obviously, there's a high upside and ceiling when it comes to the possibilities with this and other projects in the space. So I sincerely can say that I haven't heard anything like this in recent times or at all, really. And yeah, I hope
it's a very different model, isn't it?
Yeah, I really do hope it takes off and it gets tested and people take a look, read the white paper, use it, and provide feedback, because ultimately that's what's going to grow the betting world, the sports world, and hopefully engagement with Wagerr. So I do wish you both the very best of luck.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much.